This is gonna be a long one. Hello beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. As by the title, as you can see, in today's video I'm gonna be talk all about how to create the perfect character. And this is my favorite topic because I love creating characters. I think this was my favorite thing to do when I decided that I want to write the book Breakup Blues. Creating characters can be sometimes a bit tricky, I would say. It's not for everyone. Not everyone has this creativity or like that mindset of creating characters. For some people who would like to write a book, they are a bit struggling of how to create the perfect character, right? I'll kind of try to tell you something about it, at least what I did kind of and what helped me a little bit, and I'll be breaking down as well as an example my own main character from my book, so then you can kind of like understand each topic a bit better, I would say. Of course, whenever I'm talking about my book, you know what's gonna happen. Yes, it's back. It's here and it's cute. And the orange is back and it's full with notes again because I really wanted to be prepped. And I hope I am. I hope I kind of wrote down everything I would like to tell you and would like to share. Before we start, you could give this video a thumbs up and you could also subscribe to my channel. Either you love makeup or you like seeing videos about books or mental health, you can just subscribe to my channel because my channel is a bit mixture of everything. It's of course it's still makeup related because I do really quick simple makeup looks. That's my cup of tea. But then of course I would also like to share another side of me, which is the creative part, and that is that I wrote a book and I would like to help other people if they want to start to write a book, kind of share my point of view of writing a book, of what helped me, because I consider myself as a little bit lazy person. But yeah, so let's get into this video, shall we? Let's start by the first topic, and that is character archetype. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. So I think the first thing you should do while you want to create your main character is to choose the archetype. What kind of person will that character be? I heard that there are 14 archetypes, but I know only about 12. I don't want to complicate it as it already is, because archetypes are a bit tricky, a bit complicated, and you really like have to go through every single one before you will choose that one that will be your character. We have the innocent, the everyman, hero, outlaw, explorer, creator, ruler, magician, lover, caregiver, jester, and sage or sage. Now I don't know, sage or sage. And what archetype actually is? It's basically like a template for you of the character that's gonna act certain way and is gonna have certain behavior, emotions that will kind of connect with the reader. I hope I kind of said it right. I don't know, because to me archetype is always a bit tricky. So basically it is like a guideline of certain behaviors, emotions, also actions of the character throughout the whole book. With that archetype, you kind of want your character to be recognizable with people, like with the reader. Like you kind of want to also relate that character to the reader. So I think that's what archetype in general is. I will give you an example of my main character of my book, which is called Breakup Blues, Vive la London, and the main character is called Nykolla. I will turn on the page so I don't forget. From all of the 12, I would say that Naya is the innocent. Most of the time it's either child or it is like very inexperienced adult. That archetype is really her because she is, I don't even know how to say it, like she is really inexperienced and really naive. Also, she is really inexperienced relationship wise, like she's never been in a relationship and then she falls in love super quickly and she kind of like connects to that person and she's really scared that the person is gonna abandon her at some point, which also relates to the innocent archetype. The innocent character is someone who grows and changes throughout the story. I hope I'm actually saying it right, because sometimes archetypes, yeah, it's really tricky. You really have to do your research because there is 12 of them and you just have to choose that one that's gonna like click with the character that you want to create, right? I'll drink my coffee, hold on. It's already cold. The second topic is add specific characteristics. Adding specific characteristics means that you really have to consider the emotional connection between the character and the reader. So you want to kind of make the character relatable with the readers. The specific characteristics is something that should kind of like tell something about the character. If you want to write a fantasy or something about gods and this type of things, I think myself that you still kind of have to find at least one human behavior or emotion or something that will connect with the reader, because I've never read any fantasy or anything that kind of genre. Me myself, I wrote, I think, really realistic book. My main character Naya, I was putting in that character me. I was putting my thoughts, my emotions, my actions in that character. So I guess I made her relatable, at least to someone. I mean, I had to, right? Who is maybe going through the same thing as what I was going through at that time. Naya is that type of person who overthinks too much. Then she can kind of create these scenarios in her head, and then she can kind of be even like paranoid at some point because she thinks the worst thing's gonna happen to her or like to someone that she loves. So that's why her mind is always like clicking and clicking and she can just not shut down. So for example, that's a good characteristic, like for example that the main character overthinks too much. She falls in love too quickly, which is also her weakness. My main character is really specific individual and not every single person is gonna relate to my character, and that's also good that I mentioned this, because you have to also think about that not everyone's gonna love your characters, and that is completely okay because you are not here to please everyone and you cannot please everyone with your book or with your characters. Third topic is build the backstory. I love creating backstories, but at the same time it's really hard to create a backstory when you're not kind of connected with the character yet. I think with this one you should really take your time and just sit down and just write a lot of backstories, because there's gonna be a lot in your head and then you just kind of like have to pick one that you will think will be perfect for the main character. The character kind of been through something before, like the backstory is basically their past. I kind of shared the backstory of my main character in the book. You don't have to do that, like you don't have to share the backstory of the main character, but you could at least kind of like briefly describe maybe somewhere in the book the past and why is the character behaving the way the character is. With that backstory, you kind of like giving them that personality that will stretch towards the whole story. For my main character Naya, I also mention it in my book, like she's been through a mental breakdown and that's why she kind of left her family and she moved to London because she felt like she's a bit like a burden to the family. And she also kind of challenged herself to try at least to live alone, and at the same time she also wanted to be close to her mother who left when she was really young. And even though she doesn't allow her brain to kind of admit it, she wants to be closer to her mom at some point. Of course she wants to, that's why she moved to London in the first place. At some point, it's really a strong word, but at some point she kind of hates her mom. Well, not really, but I mean, of course she was betrayed when she was little, so there is this betrayal, and that's why she is scared of that abandonment. Everything should kind of like connect to each other. Even the backstory should connect with like the specific characteristics. So the backstory should kind of define why is the character in the beginning of the book acting the way she or he is. And then at the end the character should kind of overcome that fear he or she had in the past and to kind of accept it and move forward with it. Maybe in your book the character will never overcome that past that they've been through, and that is completely okay. Like for example, I'm writing the second part of the Breakup Blues, and there is this another main character that I don't want to share the name yet, will accept the future but will not overcome her backstory, like the past that she's been through. The character, like I mentioned, doesn't have to be perfect. Like the character doesn't have to overcome any fear, even though that's, I guess, the most important thing in the book, like to overcome that fear, right? But then at the same time, even though in my first book, like Naya, her biggest fear was to fall in love, and she was really scared that the person she loves the most is gonna walk away at some point and leave her. And she kind of realized that that other person loves her so much, but the fear is still there because it's just not something that's gonna disappear just like that. When you kind of share the past of the character, then I think the reader kind of connects to the character even more, and then they kind of understand why are they behaving the way they are in the book. So that's why I always love to share the past of each character, of the main character in my books, to kind of make the reader understand the character more and why are they maybe so arrogant, and maybe why are they so selfish, because they've been through these things that made them to act this way. I think that without the backstory, the character would not be complete. So really take your time, sit down. You will have a lot of thoughts about the past of your main character. So then you kind of just like have to glue it all together and just come up with the perfect one, or like the one that you will feel most connected to. Fourth topic I would like to share with you is to give your character some quirks, faults and flaws. What that means to give your character the quirks and flaws is to kind of make them a bit special, so they're not simple and boring and ordinary, you know? Like you should find at least one thing really special and out of the ordinary. Like when someone's gonna think about that, they will immediately think about your main character, think about you, like what is your flaw, what is your best trait that you have, what is something that makes you special, and then you can kind of use it in your main character as well. I will give you again example of my main character, like Naya. For example, what makes her special and not boring and ordinary is that she has these head tics in her head that she will snap and she will change, and she knows that she'll be in a dip. Like she will change from this cute and innocent to like this monster, and she will start scream and just have this burst of anger. That's what makes her special, because no one else has that in the book. She feels really awkward and nervous around men that like her or that like give her eye contact. Make a scene where the character feels a certain way, and if you're gonna create more scenes and the character is gonna behave the same, then the reader will know, oh my god, like it's gonna happen again, we know what's gonna happen. And that what makes them special, because the reader immediately think about your character because they already know that they're gonna behave a certain way. It can be something silly, of course, as well, like it can be something funny, and then the reader will already know, like, oh my god, yes, I know what's gonna happen now, like something that the reader will kind of remember, and then when in some scene something's gonna happen, they will immediately know. Like, I hope I'm giving you good advices so far, because sometimes it's really hard for me to explain the certain topic, because of course English is not my main language and I'm not thinking today, so I really apologize about that as well. Fifth topic, my favorite number, is to give your character an arc. Giving your character an arc is that's why they grow and change as the story goes. An arc is also like why they will adapt and respond to life's events. The whole story you created at some point is gonna change the character, like I mentioned before. An arc is also like a development for the character in the story. So they are starting as this, and then throughout this, by the end of the story, they'll be like a completely different person. For example, for my character Naya, like at the beginning, she was like really kind of like reserved and quiet and like really shy, like a loner. She will kind of change, of course she has to change at some point. By the end of the book, Naya at some point will be at peace with herself, with her mother, but that doesn't mean that she'll be completely okay. What type of arc you can give to your character is that maybe, for example, they will learn new skill, gain some fresh perspective of something of life, or maybe they will have relationship and that's kind of gonna change them. Or maybe I'm not really creative today, like just to give them something that's gonna kind of like change them. And of course it can be also something that's gonna change them to even worse. That's what I like, this whole imagination that you can have and the creativity. Like the character doesn't necessarily to be okay, and it is okay. Number 6, and this is my favorite topic. We are moving on to the fun part and the more easier part of creating a character. Add visual references. This is my favorite. This is when the character is coming to life. This is the time where you can use Pinterest or Artbreeder to really create the character, or you can create your character in Sims like I did, or you can just search on Pinterest to look at some models or like famous people to kind of like make it a bit easier for you with the whole characteristic of your main character. You can create mood boards, which of course you can create them on Pinterest, which is the easiest way. Or you can just like save some pictures and like then create your own mood board, or like it's also an inspirational board. I could just spend hours and hours on Pinterest. For example, like there is one scene when Naya is going to Scotland, and so I was searching for like pictures of Scotland, of the little chalet that she'll be staying in, and it's just like this gives you this is so great. I love it. I created my characters in Sims, which is so cool because I had the chance to create them from scratch, and I just really played with each one of the characters, and I spent hours and hours of creating them and to make them look perfect and realistic as much as possible. But then now you have the Artbreeder, I would say that is how it's called, where you can kind of like mix pictures of some people that other people created, and then you can kind of create your own character. I tried Artbreeder, and to be honest, I don't understand that app. I'm not really good with it. A lot of authors are creating their characters through that website, and some of them look really beautiful. For example, me, I created a template for each character, and I kind of filled them with an answers of how every character would answer that question, if that makes sense. And I also like chose like different fonts of like how their writing would look like. This is the best part, and you should really have fun with this one. I also like to use Canva a lot. I try to make it as creative as possible, like even when I'm talking about some specific characteristics like that. Like I don't want to write it just on a blank page, so every time I open Canva and I write there, and I just kind of try to make it a bit fun. I want to force myself to think, but in a good way. Like I don't want to be bored and just like think about it. No, I want to have fun while I'm thinking about my characters. So that's why I always open Canva, and then you can just play with it. You can choose some bubbles or whatever you want to. I know that this part takes a lot of time. You have to also create these mood boards, if that can give you a lot more inspiration, and you can also change the mood boards throughout the whole book, or you can create more mood boards, or you can also create a inspirational board for each chapter. That's also really cool, I would say, but it takes a lot of time and effort to do it. We have 7th topic, we're getting to the end, I swear, and that is to organize your thoughts. This means that this is the time where you have to kind of like turn yourself off a little bit from all the thinking and from everything you wrote down so far, and to just kind of clean your thoughts, and also to clean the mess that you wrote down. So this is also a good point when you should open Canva or anything. Make it more easier for you, so then you're not lost from like in all of the writing that you wrote down, you know, to make it a more cleaner, and so it's easy for you to read. You can also put some stickers or something to make it a bit not like boring. Like this is really just for you to clean out the mess you created. We are coming to an end. I'm gonna share with you the last topic, and that is the 8th topic, and that is to create the rest of the characters. When you made that effort and the struggle of creating the main character, and now you kind of like took a deep breath and just like you just thought like, okay, finally I'm over this thing, like this took me so long. So now you can create the side characters. Don't force yourself, because then the side characters will suck. When you create side characters, they can either be important in the story or they don't have to be important in the story. In my book, I have a lot of side characters. Some of them are really important in the story, some of them are just important in the first book if you are writing a series book. So then, for example, you can have a lot of side characters and a few of them can be important in the first book, and then the rest can be important in another books that you're gonna write. They are also carrying the story, because at some point the main character should be connected to the side characters at some point, like even if they're gonna meet them just for a second, like they already met, so it meant something, like it should mean something at least. That happened to me as well. Like there is this one boy in the first book called Patrick, where Naya's gonna meet him really briefly because he is a friend of her best friend. She's gonna meet him, blah blah, like nothing really, like she doesn't even care about him, you know. But then in the second book that I'm writing, like that side character, which me myself, I didn't want to make him that important at all. In the second book, he is really important side character, which really surprised me as well. You should also give them some quirks or some flaws. You should also create like some specific characteristics of that side characters, like why are they connected with the main character, or maybe the side character is gonna be a villain, like it's gonna be really mean to your main character. So you kind of have to think about like, why are they so mean, like why are they hurting my main character. We have a visitor. Hello, I love you. I don't know what's happening. Hello, hello. What I wanted to say. Thank you, sir. I forgot. Oh yeah, for me the side characters should also help the main character in some way. So they are kind of connected, even though it's a villain. Like they have to be connected in some way. You cannot, because creating only one side character is like a little trap. You cannot just give one side character all that responsibility that he or she is gonna have. Like, of course the main character is the one that should have the responsibility throughout the whole story, but then the side characters, they are like the caregiver to your main character. And what that means, like the caregiver archetype is usually someone who supports your main character. It can be family member, it can be boyfriend, girlfriend, it can be best friend. It should be someone where the main character can share everything with that side character. Most of the time that archetype is not used for main characters. To put the whole responsibility only on the main character is too much, right? And I think like that would completely break the main character. So that's why we have side characters. So the main character is not alone throughout the whole book. I really love creating characters. I think that is what makes the book so special. I cannot help it. When you yourself, as the creator of the characters, can relate to the characters, it makes it so special. You feel something and you're like, oh, like I kind of like, if I relate to, I hope like someone else will relate to them as well. And trust me, there's gonna be readers that will relate to your characters. And what I also love about having more side characters in the book is that the reader, when they don't necessarily connect with the main character, they can connect with one of the side characters. And that's what happened to me as well. Each one of the characters is so different and unique in their own way. Then they kind of like, when they get together, they kind of collide, like they're really good together. So that was it for today's video. I hope I gave you at least something to the future writers, or to someone that really is struggling of creating a character. I tried my best to answer each topic. My whole English today, I really apologize. I really tried my best. I hope you will understand at least something from this video. That's it for today's video. I really do hope that you will create perfect characters for your book. If you like this video, or if you even did not like this video, you can still give it a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel. That helps me a lot, and it also keeps me motivated to do more content for you guys. If it's makeup book related, I don't care at this point. I just want to make content for you. You can also follow me on Instagram. That also helps me a lot. You can also reach me out there if you have any question, book, makeup, mental health related. Just write me on Instagram. I have to eat now because my stomach is just I guess I'll see you in the next one. So bye.